Now recording. So today we're going to do some more examples of file I/O in PHP. Now that we've got sort of the theoretical basis for this stuff under our belts, let's turn to more practical matters. The sort of simplest working example of something you can do with this stuff that you could never do before is the site counter. So, I don't know, anybody remember websites from the 1990s?
Yeah.
You might still be able to find some kicking around.
What's his name? The guy that made C++. I'm pretty sure his website looks solid.
Yeah. You see this sometimes on like personal pages for professors and stuff like that. But old websites from the 90s would often have at the bottom, like in the copyright bar, they'd have a site counter, which was just a little ticker to indicate how many people had visited the site. Right? Of all the people who had accessed the site, this is how many people, in total. So let's make one, shall we? Sound good? If everybody could please load up your XAMPP and VS Code applications, we shall get underway.
Well, first time opening is part of the
It seems to be like, is it just me or is VS Code like increasingly buggy?
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
It's like the worst IDE ever.
But like, last semester it wasn't this buggy, you know? Like, I'll be in the middle of doing something and it will refuse to obey commands because it's doing some background process that's not terminating.
Web app is mine.
Yeah, it's trying to like, it's the big brother that's keeping track of everything you're programming, like the connection to the server is down.
Nobody knows how to
momentarily or
make good
something.
applications anymore. It's all just web app this and web app that.
Yeah.
Because it has to work on a phone.
Like, even now it's not even launching. Come on, wake up.
Discord's awful.
Oh.
It's a web app.
Discord
It's been
leaks memory.
Yeah, I know.
Like, oh my sweet Jesus.
It wasn't this bad like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's gotten like so much worse.
Yeah. So if you're, I'm just gonna sneakily drop this in the chat. If you're looking for an open source alternative that's not too bad actually to VS Code and Visual Studio, because here's the other thing, Visual Studio is not supported on Macs anymore. So if you're looking for an alternative to BS Microsoft products, I use KDevelop. I have used KDevelop in the past for things like my thesis. It's fine. Does all the things.
Can you not use it on this computer?
I mean, it's not installed. So available for Linux, Windows, and Mac. You know it's open source when Linux is listed first. There you go. Actually, so KDevelop is the development environment made by the KDE project. KDE stands for the Cool Development Environment. They make all of the best Linux software. Anyway, so, oh my goodness. VS Code, are you still not?
That's fun.
Yeah, you can always build it from source. I don't have permission to like run an installer on these computers anyways. You'd think of all people, I would have permission to do that.
You'd think they'd put it on like, you'd think they'd put like some sort of setup for like the tech stuff where it's all like isolated so that then people can kind of just go kind of nuts with it and not break anything. I'm sure there's a way to do that.
Don't even get me started now. But if you want a computer that's yours, bring your own. You know.
That's obvious.
So, that's last class. Open folder. There we go. Made us a folder. Fresh folder. Do I trust myself? Yes. Perhaps I shouldn't, but I do. I know I make that joke every time. So, we wish to make a website with a website counter. Let us first create a PHP website, or a PHP file. It will also be a website. Let's call it counter.php. Insert your HTML boilerplate. Stupid. There we
Can we
go.
autofill that?
Okay.
No, I'm just forgetting something. It's on.
So, we want to keep track of the number of times somebody has visited the site. Essentially, we want to store the value of one single variable, right? To do so, we should have a file which contains that number. Now, there are two ways of going about initializing this file. The first way is to simply create the file and give it the initial value that you want it to have. Sure. The second way is to write code which initializes the file. If you are the person who initialized the file, you need to reinitialize the file every time that file needs to be reinitialized, i.e. when it gets corrupted or attacked or whatever. If you write code that automatically detects when the thing has become corrupt and then replaces it, then you never have to do that. What's better, having to do stuff or not having to do stuff? Every time, right? So, let's write some code to read from a file conditionally on that file's existence. If the file doesn't exist, we will create it. So let me. Is this visible from the back? Wonderful. This is kind of the maximum magnification I can get it at. So there are seats in the front that are unoccupied if you need to move up. Filter keys, no. All right.
Word wrap.
PHP opening tag at the top. Yes. Can I put what on?
Word wrap.
Oh, that's a good idea. View.
View variable.
Oh, it's V.
You're in the wrong one, sir.
V.
Z. Z.
For policy.
Anybody got the hotkey?
Alt
Plus
Z.
Z.
Alt.
Z.
Alt Z. Oh, there you go. Okay. There we go. All right. So. In order to detect whether the file exists or not, we will need to use another function. There is a whole host of functions that can do various file system operations. Seeing if something exists, that's an operation. Seeing the contents of a directory and returning the file names as an array, that's something that you can do, right? There are lots of these things. Viewing file permissions, this type of stuff. But there's a simple one. File exists. Returns a Boolean given a file name. And of course, we will need a file name. file name is count.data. And remember, file extensions are your choice. You can put anything you want here. For example, Dr. Moore is awesome. There we go. You don't have to put that one, you can put a different one if you want. So, if we try to view this in Windows, Windows will say, I don't know how to open a Dr. Moore is awesome file. It's like, yes, I know Windows. Because I'm messing with you, Windows. So, file exists can be easily plugged into the guard of an if statement as it returns a Boolean. If the file does not exist, we want to create it. If we open a file in write mode and it doesn't exist, what happens?
Program breaks?
Hmm?
Program breaks?
Nope. That's read mode.
Oh, sorry.
What about write mode? It starts with C, CR.
Create a new file?
It creates a new file. That's right. Very good. So, file handle is equal to f open file name in write mode. Now we want to give that file some content. What should the initial value of the variable be if this file does not exist? Another way of asking this question. What should the site count read if this is the first person visiting the site? That you are the 0th person to visit the website? You are the first person to visit the website. So, we should write the value 0, fwrite, the value 1. The value 1, there we go. Boom! And of course, fclose. Now, we also need to know what the value of n is, where n is the number of people who have visited the website. If we just set n equal to 1 in the storage file, it's also safe to say that n should be 1 once we reach the rest of the website. Make sense? So far, so good? Any questions?
One more time.
Sure.
Maybe.
So, n is a variable which I am intending to use inside of the HTML itself to tell us how many people have visited the site. You are the nth visitor, right? If I set it to 0 up here, that just declares the variable in the global scope, right? If the file does not exist, you are the first visitor. So I set n equal to 1. Make sense? Any other questions? Good. So what about the other case? In the other case, we need to read the existing file, read in the data, modify it, add 1, push it back. So we need to do how many file operations? 2. Which ones? Read and write. Very good. Which do you do first, read or write?
Read.
Correct. File handle is equal to f open file name in read mode. So in this case, we only have one teensy little bit of data. It's on the first line. We only have one line in the file. So, this is a situation where f get s will be the simplest solution. And don't forget to f close. Now, we have obtained the value or the contents of the file. But we cannot be certain that the contents of the file are valid, right? There could be other people working on the project that have modified the file or written scripts that allow improper values to be entered into the file. So in some sense you are defending against exterior stupidity and interior stupidity. Further, someone may have put information into a file on the server containing a stored access account. When you are designing things for internet security, you do not just build one wall. You build multiple layers of protection. The first and most important of these is filtering values coming in through incoming data packets, right? Filtering things in get and post. Your second wall, your second layer of defense, is also filtering things found in files on the server. Even if you think, oh, I've got the first wall. Nothing gets past the first wall. I don't need any more security than that. Wrong. When security is as simple as just putting up 2 lines of code, why wouldn't you? Right? So, n is, not to mention this also like validates the contents of the file. In this case, it checks to see if it is actually an integer. So, filter var n. What sort of filter do we use for integers?
Filter validate int.
Very good. Filter validate int. There we go. If n is equal to false, it means that this thing was not an integer. What should we do if the contents of the file is non-integer? I'm going to use this as a podium. Yes?
You said it's a non-integer?
Yeah. Say the contents of the file are the word potato.
Okay.
What should you do?
Set it to a number maybe?
Reset it to a number?
Yeah.
Yep. Do we have a routine that already does that?
Yeah.
So what should we do?
Leave it, I guess.
We already have a few lines of code
Yeah.
that reset the state of the file. Right?
So potato after that.
So if we want to reset the file in multiple places in our code, what do we do?
Function.
Function! That's right. We make it into a function. Now, as it turns out, in PHP, you can't call it reset like that. It's a reserved word. It's a reserved function. You have to figure something else to call it. Thank you. You too. So the way that you declare a function in PHP is with the function keyword. Reset file, or we could do the C naming convention and say f reset or freeset or freset. Take these, cut, paste, f reset. There you go. And then we can also say if n is triple equals 2, false, f reset. Now, this is all well and good. When we perform the reset operation, we could also put setting n equal to 1 in there. Because that's going to be true every time we reset the file anyways, right? However, I have not 1, not 2, but 3 red underlines under file name. So it doesn't like our file name. You have a comment?
It's because you have file name declared after the function.
That's true. File name is declared after the function, so let's move it.
Never mind. Not bad.
Wait. Oh, come on. There we go. I know this is really elaborate, but just give me There we go. So the actual problem, if you read the error here, which I always recommend, undefined variable file name, it's not because it's positionally, it was positionally above or below. The problem is, and this is actually the same as scoping rules in Python, you don't get access to global variables in a function unless you specifically declare them. So, this is how it works. Global, file name, and n. You'll notice that it wasn't complaining about n in that case. It was, the error that it had here was, this is declared but not used. So in this case, because we are assigning to it, it was creating a local n, a local to the function n, which did not share its values outside, right? But that nevertheless would have compiled. The difference with file name is that file name, of course, is not being written to anywhere here, it's only being read. You can't read from something that doesn't exist. Make sense? Question? In theory, yes. In theory, using global variables is bad and you should avoid it. But, you know, let's put it this way. This is like the first function we've written all semester and we're a month in. So, that should give, yeah. So that's like, that should give you some idea of the flavor of PHP. Like in PHP, when we get to things like template arrays in MVC architecture, that's all global. PHP itself loves globals so much that it creates super globals, right? So yeah, PHP is not as global phobic as like Java is, for instance. Java doesn't even really have globals. Like you can reproduce the idea of a global, but like Java goes to a lot of effort to not technically have globals, even though it technically does, you know? But yeah, in general, globals are bad design, but this is a crappy language, so, you know. In conclusion. It's a scripting language. You're not supposed to do anything real with it. So, where were we? Ah yes, F reset. So, let's plop a little else case in here. If n is not false, then it is a valid value. If it is a valid value, we wish to increase it. N plus plus. In an if you are thinking about this problem as IPO, this is your P, right there. 5 characters. I think it's like the smallest P that can exist actually, aside from not doing anything at all. Next thing that you want to do is you want to write that value of n back into the file. We have code that writes something back into the file, but not the thing that we want. This is writing 1. However, here's a question. Could this code be modified so as to parameterize this value here?
Yes.
Absolutely. We can pull this out as an argument, and then that allows us to reuse the same code a third time. Although it's no longer, in that case, really an F reset. Right? Yeah, F set would be better, right? Of course, that means that you'll have to change that elsewhere. And we're getting dangerously close to we're getting dangerously close to the C standard library names, so hopefully this works. So we take this and we parameterize it. Call that Q. Why not? Because it's cute. Yeah, that's rude. So, fset now requires a parameter. Here, we are setting the value of 1. Here we are setting the value of 1. And here, we fset the value of n. And I think you will agree that looks pretty nice. As if statements go, that's pretty short. Although, and I'm not suggesting any of you do this because this is fine. I'm just going to be a little cheeky for a moment. Alright? So replace that with fset n equals false, triple equals false, 1 or n with the plus plus before. Oh wait, I have to say fset. No, I already did. Okay. That's actually the same. That is the same line of code as that. That whole if statement.
So you can replace that if statement with that single line?
Yep.
Okay.
If you want to. I'm just being fancy. So
It's like that guy when you'll post a question on Stack Overflow, he'll just turn it into one line of code.
yep. So, but this is interesting, right? Let me explain it a little bit. So, the plus plus operator is a little bit strange. If you put the plus plus after the thing you're plus plussing, then you're adding 1 to it after the line of code executes, technically speaking. So if you are plussing it before, it will add to it before it uses it, up here, I think. The only thing is that going to be conditional on this thing or not? That should be that up, I don't know. I'd be interested to see. I'm going to leave that in the comments and I'm going to run it to see if that works, but yeah. Again, I don't recommend you do it, but you can if you want. You can definitely, like, remove that line and just do that. That is absolutely perfect and safe. But, like, what side the plus goes on is, like, kind of a weird little corner rule. It, like, you'll see it used in, like, Java textbooks and that type of thing when they're trying to, like, write an algorithm for the algorithms course in, like, 4 lines of code. They'll do stuff like that. But, yeah. You don't have to. You can just do it properly. You can do it in a way that people can understand it. So, that's about it as far as the PHP code goes. Now the only thing to do is to take n and output it to the screen in some manner. So, we'll do that as simply as possible. You are the n visitor to this site. Now let's see how many bugs I have.
But maybe simple line.
Hey, what?
It's just writing the line down. Oh well.
You are the first visitor to the site.
Uh-oh.
Oh, uh-oh. I'm stuck. So, we have a bug. Good, I love bugs. Bugs are teaching opportunities. So, the first thing to do if you're trying to debug something like this is to take a look at the contents of the file. Is the file being created? Excellent question. What are its contents? Another excellent question. So we have our content.Dr. Moore is awesome. Dr. Moore is awesome file. Open it in Notepad, yes thank you. You can see that we get 20. So, the problem is not that the number of clicks is not being kept track of. That is true. The problem is that it's not being output to the website correctly. So let's take a look at the things that set n. So, Okay, I found the bug. Alright? The bug is now on the screen. Can anybody tell me what the bug is? So, this is why. This is why global variables, right? Because this stupid thing is global, I forgot that this thing resets the value of it. I made a modification to this function, and in so doing, destroyed my functionality. So probably the best thing to do is to simply remove it. Remove it from consideration. In that case, every time you use fset, you will have to say, or perhaps rather than remove it, you just set it equal to whatever you're setting it to. That also makes sense. So perhaps not quite so drastic. Now let's see. There we go. Now it works. Yes? Sure thing. And as a quick reminder for anybody in the room who is scratching their heads, what does the equal sign mean again? It's shorthand for PHP echo.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. Good. Any questions about that? We now have a functional set counter. Yes?
How come it jumps to 30 so fast?
Oh,
Because of the exam or?
all of those times I was hammering it to, the first time while it wasn't working, it was still saving to the file correctly. Like, to put it another way, we had a problem with the view, but not the model. The model was working, so all of those extra key presses that I was doing were still being recorded, so the first time I hit it, I already had 32 in the bank after I fixed it. Any other questions? Okay. Yes. About there? Okay. So, so this is good, this is fine, insofar as it goes. Oh, you have a question?
If we don't have the global bullet point for it, the global file, is it working?
If you don't have line 7,
Yeah, the global one.
well, you can also make it a parameter of the function, but if you're reading it before you're writing it, you know,
But it's working for me without the global.
well then you're probably doing something wrong.
I mean, I tried to
I'm just gonna copy what he's got.
I
I got the exact same thing.
Just in case. I've made so many notes on this chapter. So I just
Comment
commented,
master,
like,
holy.
oh, it's
This guy didn't leave a space for that.
Copilot. It's
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say like, please.
Or even just the comments, because then you go back to code and then you're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
That's okay, I'm gonna copy from here, but thank you.
I don't know, maybe it's a version thing. What, do you know what version of PHP is running on your Active? Is it version 80? Because that should be version 7.2.24. So, good. Oh, this is of no interest to anybody in this class whatsoever, but I'm going to say it anyway.
It is to me.
Plans are in motion to change this course over to Node.js.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
plans are in motion to change this. It's not going to happen this semester, but plans are in motion to change this course from doing PHP to doing Node.js.
That's so much better. I don't understand the point of.
Yeah. Yeah.
PHP. Like, no offense, sir, no offense.
So what
Like,
does that
I
mean
just
for
don't.
us?
Listen, I am not PHP. You won't offend me by offending PHP.
Okay, perfect.
But what's
If you
your
went after Linux Mint though,
Oh yeah,
Okay.
So what does
no.
this mean for us?
nothing.
well, what's your take on that?
I am initiating the change.
So you okay?
Yeah. I'm the course owner. People have been complaining about the fact that this course is doing PHP in current year for like a long time. You talk to like there are some people in the professorship who are actually quite well connected to employers and know what employers are looking for. And I proposed the idea of converting this course to Node.js to a certain Dr. Kevin Brown, who you may have heard or you probably won't run into him until upper year courses. But if you ever get an opportunity to take a Kevin Brown course, I recommend it.
He was the guest speaker for the Delta Hacks after you did the guest speaker.
Yeah,
Before.
he's fantastic. Dr. Brown is fantastic. But
I second the motion. Let's
Yeah.
just start right now.
well, unfortunately, so it can't happen this semester because
We're already
let me show you something actually.
Kind of making me want to fail this course on purpose just to take Node.js. I'm not even gonna lie.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. Like, hopefully, I'll be given some development time over the summer for this. But,
Or the sum. Oh, so not even next semester.
yeah. Like, actually, these type of major changes have to roll over in September because you technically have to offer the same course. You can't offer a vastly different course under the same course code between like fall and winter
Okay, yeah.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
because you have to maintain at least that much consistency. So any changes that would be made would be rolled out in September of next year. Also, if you take a look at the course outline, the formal outline here. So these are like from our perspective as professors. This sheet is what we are contracted to deliver. So you'll notice using the PHP language, ... So this document needs major revision to remove PHP from it. After that's accomplished, I can actually do the course development, convert the course over to Node.js. But these things only change once a year, and that's at the beginning of the year. So unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it this semester. And even if I could, I wouldn't have time to.
That makes
Right.
sense. Yeah, that'd be too much for me. I mean, because Node.js would be so perfect for introducing us also to like external frameworks and whatnot. It's like such a big build-up because last semester was also JavaScript and then Node.js and then from there also framework. Like it just takes you to like a better step
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Not to mention like all of the kind of serverish topics that we do in PHP, like they're language independent. You know, it doesn't matter what language you're using, you're still parsing packets. You know,
I
fundamentally.
hated client side. It was awful for me.
A lot of that's an opinion that's shared among quite a large number of people.
It's like
A lot of people got screwed over on the exam.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, so it's JavaScript is one of these courses that like this one, like a lot of Steve Adams courses, where you are required to pass the proctored component in order to pass, because basically there's enough help online with the assignments that like the fact that you managed to complete the assignment says almost nothing about your ability, right? So JavaScript is kind of currently structured poorly because there's a big fat exam hanging off the end of it, but no midterm, right? So not only is like the exam itself like, it's like a one event pass fail on the whole course, which generally is not considered a good way of doing a course. Not to mention, a common problem that people have with the JavaScript exam is that the material part's pretty far from the assignment material anyways,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, the completion of the course for JavaScript is not necessarily, you know, certainly by a lot of students, and I see some heads nodding in the class when I say this, completion of the course for JavaScript was not necessarily good preparation for the exam.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree.
I see a lot of people agreeing with
Because there
that.
was like our professor gave us like a study guide, and
Yeah.
when I got the exam, I'm like, this was worthless.
Yeah, so,
I just wrote pseudocode wherever like I couldn't think of something, or I just tried to BS
Yeah.
an answer because like
so,
I felt I wasn't taught this.
so basically, a lot would have been, like in that type of situation, a lot comes down to how generous your professor is willing to be with you,
Yeah.
right? And that is subjective. And my position on grading is that it should always be as objective as possible, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't make that much difference who your professor was when they're grading. I mean, I know that's like a pipe dream, but in theory, that's what should be the case. In an ideal world, that would be the case, right? But yeah, so, yes?
Yeah, as someone who has to retake JavaScript, one of the things that were like on the test, I asked her, is it okay if I don't use what we used in class, but I still complete it using like Ajax? And I said, because she said she wants exactly the Ajax like code that we did in class. I'm like, I'm sorry I wasn't there, but can I just do my own? Like I'll still complete the question, but can I just do my own code? And then she said no, and
I hate that.
I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I wasn't there. Like,
People who try to teach code like that want you to memorize their exact programs.
yeah,
It's actually a really poor way to learn how to program because, like, a good way of learning how to program is what I tried to do in class. Here's this function, here's how it works. You figure out where to put it, right? Here's this construct, here's how it works, you figure out how to put it together. Like, code should be like Lego.
Yeah.
Right.
You're supposed to like screw around with it until
Yeah.
you break something, and that's how you learn.
Precisely, but, yeah, so, if you're, are you currently taking JavaScript?
yeah.
Okay, well, if you fail again, I'm teaching 3 sections of it in the winter, so come on by.
3 sections of it
Yeah.
in the winter.
Yeah, I've
Wait,
been,
right now?
no, in the winter,
Oh,
next
okay.
semester I've got
What
3
did you-
sections of
What did you
JavaScript.
do
so-
that they're punishing you with that for?
The thing is, if I do fail again, then
No, it's okay, because last year they punished me with Java, so,
Yeah, but Java's easy.
yeah, Montana. To be honest,
yeah, I don't know which one I prefer, actually. Java is pretty rough as well from a professor's perspective.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, there are, I know you guys know there are a lot of assignments in Java, but holy hell, there are a lot of assignments in Java.
Our professor for Java was like also really generous with me. Like we had Slevin, so he'd give us like as each day we did type class, he'd let us build up grade days.
Oh,
Like he did in the attendance sheet that we had to sign.
oh,
So like
yeah.
it's like one late day on an assignment per 4 days you show up.
Yeah, exactly. It's very.
It's
Who do you
interesting.
have right now?
It's an interesting idea, actually. Anyway, we should continue on with this and stop griping. But I just wanted to let you know that now PHP, its days are numbered. So
So you're making me want to retake this entire thing.
But here's the thing,
yeah,
there's going to be someone who needs you to know it at some point, and
Yep.
when you knowing that you know it, it's like, man, I'm glad I know this versus, what's this?
yeah.
And then they have to
Like-
go find some other guy.
Here's the thing, right? Programming languages never die, right? There will always be an existing code base in PHP that needs to be kept up to date. There will always be jobs for PHP programmers,
Yeah.
right? But you know, in general,
That's actually really good.
Node
Get them
is
as a connection.
overtaking, and like. See, this is also kind of just like a decision I have made. This decision also still needs to be brought before the curriculum committee, and that like it needs to be talked about in committee and approved. But I can't see any reason why they wouldn't. It's like the only reason PHP is still here is because nobody's taken the initiative to get rid of it.
I mean, if you need, start a petition with us, I promise you all of us will sign it. Like, that's, right now, I swear, like, it's not even gonna be,
Like,
I'm more than happy to, for, at least if I can't save myself, I wanna save other people, then.
if I require the troops, I will call on the troops. But I think the general can handle this one himself, actually.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I appreciate the support, but yeah, no, that's basically how these things kind of work. Is like these documents get written, and it requires effort to change them. So things have a tendency to sort of ossify over time.
Cause like at least with Java, I felt like if you did like all the assignments, even if you didn't like really study anything for the exam, you could kind of go in and get like at least a 70.
Yeah. You have a question?
No, sorry.
No, you have a question? No, I saw a hand. Yeah, Java, like the Java tests, like from an objective standpoint, the questions weren't that hard.
I thought they were really fair.
Yeah.
Like they weren't the kind of ones that you get where it's like make sure you read the question 8 times.
Yeah.
And I think if there's a question like that on an exam, it should be fair.
Create a real world solution.
I'm not opposed to the idea that there is a question like that on an exam, for exams particularly,
Like a
but
like
it should
long
be
answer.
a question.
Yeah, there should
Right?
be one, but it should not be like a long answer question where you realize it's about like 3/4 of the way through and then have to rewrite all of it.
Right.
That's just
I remember they didn't get a syntax for the JavaScript exam last time. Like no
Yeah.
syntax. You were supposed to memorize everything of that.
we got a syntax sheet, I think.
Huh?
Like-
for the summer?
Java,
we
like,
worked on it.
No, I was.
I don't know, I'm coming to the opinion of JavaScript that it's actually like among the harder languages actually.
It's so much more complicated than the rest for no reason.
It's
Yeah.
also because they'll show you, okay, here's how you
Not
make
even just in school, in general.
here's how you make SVG, shape or whatever.
Yeah.
I've already like forgotten half the stuff. And here's how you do that. Okay, now animate it and make it move and
Yeah.
make a game. It's like give us more examples. Please.
Yeah. Well, make a game, right? But
It's like your game's too simple. It's like that because you didn't really give me too much direction. You told me to be creative. Like I'm really rigid and stuff. So like
okay,
come on.
I'm gonna start teaching again. Okay? So, in our previous example, we were storing the value of a variable in a file. Does this sound like it's extensible?
Yes. Super global.
If you had to keep one file for every variable that you want to store, does that sound feasible?
No.
I mean, you could do it, right? But you'd end up writing so much code to just manage the complexity by the end, you should just find a better solution. So, files can store more than just one type of data. There are 2 very common file formats which we are going to discuss in this class, which you'll need for assignment 2. Does anybody already know what they are?
What was the question? Sorry, Kim?
2 file formats.
It was like text and binary.
Nope.
Sorry, wait.
No, those are the 2 different types of files. I'm talking about 2 text file formats that you can store data in. JSON is one of them. What's the other? Not XML.
Doc.
CSV, that's right. So, quick introduction to JSON and CSV files. All right. So let's start with CSV because it's a bit simpler. A CSV file is a bit like a plain text spreadsheet with no formulas and no nothing, just numbers and commas. It doesn't have to just be numbers, but you know. So if I have something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 4, 9, 25. I missed 16. So, a comma-separated value file will contain a number of numbers or strings or other pieces of data separated by commas. Comma-separated values, values separated by commas. The CSV standard is not, so there is no CSV standard. Everybody who makes a CSV file technically can do it a slightly different way. The choice that you usually see is the comma is sometimes exchanged for some other character. Sometimes you will see vertical bar, sometimes you will see semicolon, sometimes you will see space. If something in the thing contains the separator character, it goes in quotes. Other than that, there's really not much to say about CSV files. They're pretty dang simple. Any question? So, CSV files can also have headers. If the CSV has a header, the first line of the file will be a series of strings which will make each of these lines labeled data. The way that CSV files are typically read in and turned into a native data structure in this programming language or that programming language, it depends on whether or not it has a header. If there's no header and it's just numbers, then you are dealing with an array of arrays, or a list of lists, or a two-dimensional list, right? You guys have experienced two-dimensional lists?
Yeah.
Probably in Java when you did like the checkerboard thing for assignment 8 or whatever it was, you've probably seen something like that.
Yeah.
List of lists. If you've done any linear algebra in your lives, this is also known as a matrix. So, if you have a header row, it's much more common to organize this as a list of associative, it's an array of associative arrays, or a list of dictionaries, or an array of objects, something like that. So, with the header file, you end up with a list of objects, sure. A gets 1, B gets 2, C gets 3, D gets 4, E gets 5, comma, A gets 1, B gets 1, C gets 2, D gets 3, etc. Right? So the way that you address these, if this was some variable q, in PHP, the way that you get these out is you would have to say q at index, index e, indicating the row. So if I wanted row 2, q at 1, and then you would indicate the letter that you were trying to access. Make sense? So far so good? Any questions? Okay. So much for CSVs. Does anybody need that anymore? Can I erase it?
Just a moment.
One One moment. Okay. Oh, sound doesn't work without the projector. All right. I was gonna do the Jeopardy countdown music. All right. Or I suppose I could do the countdown music. Anyway, so I'm gonna erase this. Let's talk about JSON. Man, if I had the name Jason, I would hate this class. Because it's like, and now we're going to parse the JSON. It's like, what? They want to parse me? Why are they saying my name like that? We should just start calling them JSON files.
Jason.
Yeah. Anyway, so,
We should start making more acronyms that don't mean anything.
acronyms that don't mean anything.
Okay.
Or an
That means-
ACMA.
That
Yeah,
means something.
there you go. So, we've worked with JSON data a bit. You've used JSON in your JavaScript class a bit. What it is a hierarchical organization of objects, read associative arrays or objects in PHP, and lists and other data types, right? Rather than do it there, I'm just gonna do it on the thing, because I need one anyway for the example. There we go. Man, here we go. So, if you need to contain a lot of data that's being like referenced by column and row, CSV is the obvious choice. If you need something to keep track of a few variables, JSON is what you should be going for. JSON is a lot less structured than CSV, even though it's got more braces. So let's make a JSON file. Let's call it fruits.json. Alright? Someone give me a fruit. Something other than apple.
Coconut, kiwi.
Coconut is good. Everybody always says apple first. Alright. Give me another fruit. Kiwi. Someone give me another fruit.
Dragon fruit.
Dragon fruit. And I will give you one fruit. Complementary fruit. Cucumbers are a fruit. Why?
I bet something has something to do with the seeds, maybe? The way
Yep. If it contains seeds, it's a fruit. So cucumbers are a fruit, and so are squash.
I beg to differ.
And tomatoes, yes.
I beg to differ.
You beg to differ?
I beg to differ.
Well, botanically speaking, you are wrong, sir. whether or not it's a fruit in its culinary application. Basically, what you probably consider a fruit has to do mostly with sugar content.
No, I also beg to
No?
differ on that. If it can be grown in a garden in a little box, that's a vegetable. If it's on a tree or anything of the sort, it's either a fruit or a berry.
No, berries are fruits.
But what about strawberries? You can grow them in a
Berries aren't
box.
fruits.
Berries are fruits.
Bananas
Berries
are not fruits.
definitely fruits.
Are berries
Berries are definitely not fruits. They're okay, hold on.
We have
That's
some
just like,
controversial opinions
that-
going on right here.
okay, wait, hold on.
Okay.
That's just like saying React JavaScript is the same as JavaScript. It is, but it isn't. But berries are like their own subjugation of fruits. They're not like actual
So your definition of fruit is primarily things like apples and stone fruit.
and pears. Yes.
Okay, so it has to grow on a tree to
Yes.
be a fruit for you.
Yes.
What about nuts?
Nuts are. Okay, see now this is where we get a little philosophical here. This is I would say. I would say they're fruits. They're fruits. They're fruits.
Well, that one you are right. Nuts are a kind of fruit. Although the nut meat that most people consider to be the nut, that is like a sub-part. It's not the whole fruit. So you can't call like chopped walnuts fruit. It's nuts. But like if you have the walnut still in its casing, that's a fruit.
So you see, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway. Anyway, so that's a JSON. It's a JSON keeping track of 4 things. Let's write a website. The object of this website will be to display all of our different fruit quantities. So, in order to display the different fruit quantities, we will first have to access the file. Our file name is fruits.json. We access it in the usual manner. fh equals file open file, file name, in read mode. Now, important question. fgetS or fread?
F3.
Why?
Just a guess.
Just in case. Well, yeah. So, with JSON data, white space is technically ignored, right? So, technically speaking, it doesn't matter whether our JSON is stored like this or stored like this. Everything, like those are still equivalent files, right? So, in this file format, we don't know that line number corresponds to anything. In a CSV file, it definitely does, because each line in the file is a set of entries, right? But here, there's no correspondence between the line number and some piece of data. So, this is a situation where we want to read the whole thing in bulk, right? So let's do that. Content is equal to fread from the file handle for a size of file size. Do I put the file name or the file handle here?
File name.
Correct. File name. There we go. And of course, don't forget to fclose. So, we now have our content. What do we do with everything that we get from anywhere?
Value.
display it on the view.
Without doing what? Or what are you not doing?
Sanitize.
Sanitize everything, that's right.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Sanitize everything.
I was
So-
like, yeah.
Another issue though, this content is in JSON format. In order for it to be a native data structure in PHP, we must decode it. So, let's throw in JSON decode all of that. Now, JSON decode has an important additional value, additional input here. A Boolean telling it whether or not to produce something with associative arrays. It doesn't matter whether you use an object or whether you use an associative array, so long as you are consistent about your notation. But if you expect to use something as an associative array, you must make this second argument true. Otherwise, you will run into compiler problems, or interpreter problems in this case. True. There we go. What is it? Alt K? So, just to prove this works, let's echo JSON encode content. And I know we're like decoding it and recoding it, but whatever. Get out of here. Out of my face. And you can see coconut, kiwi, dragon fruit, and cucumber. So it goes. Now we need to perform the filtering. For each content as fruit gets number, content at, well, let's filter them first. Fruit Sam is equal to filter input fruit. No, sorry, filter var, there we go. Filter var is a fruit. It's a string, so what do we use? Hey? Sanitize what?
Sanitize char.
Filter, sanitize, special. Oh, every time. Sanitize special chars. And num sanitize. Filter var num. It's an int, so what do we use? Filter for an
validate
int.
int.
Yep, for an int. What is it?
Validate int.
Correct. Filter validate int. There we go. Now we can say content at fruit is equal to fruit sanitized is equal to num sanitized. If fruit san does not equal strictly fruit, then delete. Or no, it's unset. Unset from content fruit. So this is what we're doing. First, we've sanitized fruit, then we sanitize number in the manner that we have been doing so far. Next, content fruit sanitized is equal to number sanitized. We add a new entry to the associative array using, well, it's actually, it might or it might not be a new entry, right? If fruit and fruit sanitized are the exact same string, this will be an overwrite operation. If fruit and fruit sanitized are different, this will add fruit sanitized to the array. And then, if it has been added, we remove, if it was added and not replacing it, that will activate this if statement. If fruit sanitized is not strictly equal to fruit, then, that is to say if the strings are different, we then go in and remove the instance of fruit from the array. So, in this case, because everything is valid with the JSON file at the moment, we're not hitting any of those weird edge cases, right? I'll put that off to the side. However, if we take a look at this, and we start putting some invalid values in, so for example, the value of kiwi is potato. Ooh, let me just
It's like 5 steps in that actually.
So you can see, I'm asking for the values in content at various places inside of that loop. Initially, when we hit the loop for kiwi, kiwi is equal to potato. Then, we set kiwi equal to false. Because false does not, so potato does not get through the filter validate int. Number sanitized becomes false. That gets written into the array at the position fruit sanitized. In this case, fruit sanitized and fruit are the same. So it just writes it into that position in the array. Now, let's consider if the name here contains something extra naughty. Dragon fruit, script, alert.
Yum yum.
And script. Can I not put that? There we go.
Yum yum.
So, let's run that again. Ooh, interesting. Hmm. Oh, well, I'm just executing it right there, aren't I? There we go. Hmm. I'm getting tripped up on the isn't codes. Because I'm actually just directly echoing it. Oh man. Why are you not saving Visual Studio?
Try Alt F4.
False.
Probably something in the news about the layoff at Microsoft for the VS Code team or something. Joking, but that's probably the case.
So this is what you do. You go into it using Notepad.
When this can save now?
Paste, save. Close. Yep, that's it. That's the reason. What? A double loop. It's only 30 seconds. Get the 30-second version. Oh, that's the new one. No. You gotta get the classic. That's
Oh,
fine.
that's neat. What's happening in the world?
Yeah, because someone was thinking to one on the drive and they just played.
It's just like us.
Like,
Speaker,
yeah,
just holding
yeah,
out seven
on the
with the
speaker. But the guy was so mad he started backing up.
Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy.
Alright. Like, okay, so the problem is,
It's PHP.
it's, well, I mean, yes. But the problem is, I'm trying to like do this cool demonstration where like, it is the script tag, then it's something different from the script tag, so I can show it deleting the one that's the script tag. But to do that, I'd have to print the script tag. I suppose I could just view the packet, couldn't I? That should work. Yeah, okay, let me see. View packet. That's pretty long. Okay. Copy into Notepad. There we go. So this is how it works. So we've got, let's see, we want to go to the one for dragon fruit. There she is. Undefined variable.
On line B20.
Line 20, eh?
Yeah. And 12 actually. Both 20 and 12.
Okay. But oh. That's how we do that. I was unsetting both content and fruit.
Oh dear.
So, reload, try again. Oops, start. And by the way, you're not a programmer unless you've done something like that manually. So the sequence that I wish to draw your attention to is this one. Right? So, first step, we can see that the tag contains the script attack. On the next line, we add the sanitized one as a new script element, or as a new element of the array. Dragon fruit sanitized script, right? Next, we unset the unsafe one. This one is then deleted. Therefore, your script now, like the fruits have now been sanitized. You have washed the fruits, they are now free of pesticides. Okay? Does that make sense? Cool. I'm sorry that took so long. It's difficult when you can't actually show it on the screen. I will remove the script attack now, or all of those prints. If I get rid of the prints, that would go. Also, I'll get rid of the attack. There we go. So, now what remains is to print this information to the screen. Now that content has been properly sanitized. For each content as fruit gets number, there we go, echo the fruit f, there are n fruits of type F. So it goes. Need to put a break in. There we go. Now we get there are 10 fruits of type coconut, there are fruits of type kiwi, there are 20 of dragon fruit, and 7 of type cucumber. Now, you may notice one of these things is not like the other.
No kiwi.
Kiwi doesn't have the number specified. Remember that we vandalized the JSON and put kiwi is potato. Potato does not validate as integer, therefore the value at that point in the array is false. And false prints as a string how in PHP?
Nothing.
As an empty string. Yes, not quite the same thing as nothing.
Empty string.
Yes, empty string. So, what we can do is we can throw something in here that says if n is equal to false, say echo, and then throw that in else case as well. There seems to be a problem with the fruits. And of course I need to put a break in there as well. There seems to be a problem with the kiwis. Insert graceful handling of the error here. Any questions? Shall I put the code back up on the screen so you guys can see if you can get it working?
That'd be much appreciated.
Do you want the PHP bit or do you want the this one?
PHP and then
Okay.
1 minute.
Well, I'll give you 39 seconds.
Beautiful.
Oh no. Nope, I want the original. There we go. I should make myself a soundboard.
That'd be amazing.
Logan, Jimmy Carter is now too old to play with Legos.
You're never too old to play with Legos.
It says 4 to 99.
edges are too sharp, you like rip open a
He's
whole
in
person's
hospice.
skin.
He's in hospice care.
Ah.
That's probably lethal.
Yeah. Alright,
Yep.
so there you go. Is it working for everybody? Does anybody want me to come find their missing semicolons?
Yeah, I feel like it's just not working.
I say that without judgment, by the way. I have had many missing semicolons in my time.
Yes. As you see. All may not
So
be.
show me what it runs as.
Ah, yes. This.
Oh, just remove the thing from the, go to the JSON. Get rid of the text.
I just need to make my breaks. Or
Yep.
this.
Alright, just a break there.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Look at
All
Reagan's
good?
head.
Everything working?
What country? This? This?
Okay.
The one where it goes like you visited the also to this.
So, next time in class, don't get your bags. Next time in class, we will do the part where we take the JSON data, modify it, and then put it back into the file. It's a very similar process to how we did it with the site counter. Basically, you just make a modification to your count, or to your content variable, and then you write that back in a similar fashion. Are there any questions? Yes.
They're gonna upload this code.
I will upload the code, yes. I will upload the code. Are there any other questions? Questions about the course contents? Questions about the assignment? How many people have started the assignment? Everybody else should be starting the assignment soon.
It's like every time I open up this folder, I just close it. I'm like, there's just too much reading to do. I get too lazy.
Yeah,
That's a me problem, don't worry. That's like, I'm not saying
I'm still using the assignment the Steve Adams registered trademark assignment template, just putting the questions in, so. If you've done a course where you've seen Steve Adams assignments, you can probably skip the boilerplate. That being said, a couple of important notes about the assignment, alright? Make sure that you put the files in the right place on the server. Alright? Make sure the files have the right names. Make sure when you upload them to Canvas, you add the .txt file extension. You don't replace the existing .php file extension with .txt. Although, even if you do, my script fixes it for you, so I guess it's okay. But don't do it anyway. On principle, don't do it. Question?
So I remember I used CS Unix for JavaScript. Is it like in the same place or is it like a separate folder for it?
Oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah. So in JavaScript, if I remember correctly, it's your public HTML / private / 10.259 / this course code is 10 to 60.
Yeah.
So you'll make a new folder 10.260 / A1 / your files.
Beautiful.
Right.
I like that.
Good. Are there any other questions? Any questions about philosophical questions?
What's the meaning of life, sir?
What's the meaning of life?
Yeah.
Interesting. interesting. That's an interesting question.
Why do we have these courses like object oriented where they give so much information and that's it? Like that like the slides will just be word salad for like most of it. And then it's like, oh by the way, there's a text. Yeah.
Because,
Employers
well, because courses sometimes get designed from textbooks.
They also
One second, let me turn off the camera.
oh yeah.